There are moments in life when everything seems to pause. Your dreams, your plans, your progress. You see others moving ahead while you're still waiting for clarity, waiting for a chance, waiting for something to shift. But what if the waiting itself was the training ground for your victory? There was once a woman who felt stuck in the long hallway between what was and what could be. She had big dreams, yet doors refused to open. Every rejection felt personal, every delay felt permanent. But instead of breaking down, she broke open. She decided to treat her waiting season not as punishment, but as preparation. While the world rushed ahead, she slowed down to strengthen her roots. She learned that success without stability is short-lived. In her quiet moments, she built discipline. In her stillness, she found direction. She stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Try me." She realized waiting is not wasted time. It's a sacred space. It's the place where patience sharpens purpose and endurance refines excellence. In the waiting doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening inside you before it shows outside you. And then came the day, the opportunity she had dreamed of. But now, she wasn't the same person who once waited. She was wiser, grounded, and ready. Her waiting had transformed her. What once looked like delay was actually divine design. So, if you feel like you're waiting right now, waiting for love, for success, for healing, for a breakthrough, remember this life doesn't give trophies for rushing. It rewards those who endure with grace, who keep faith alive when everything seems still. The woman who turned her waiting into winning didn't find her power in speed. She found it in surrender. She learned that sometimes the most powerful move is to stand still and grow silently. And when the moment arrived, she didn't just walk into victory, she was victory. There is a quiet wisdom hidden in the phrase, waiting is not wasted time. We often live in a world that glorifies speed. We celebrate the ones who achieve first, who move faster, who climb higher. And in that constant race, waiting feels like failure. But the truth is, waiting is not a pause in your story. It's a powerful chapter of preparation that most people overlook. The woman who turned her waiting into winning discovered that every moment of stillness had a purpose. Even when nothing seemed to move on the surface, when life slows you down, it's easy to feel left behind. You watch others succeed, build, and bloom while you sit in uncertainty, wondering if you've been forgotten. But waiting is not the absence of movement. It's the presence of growth in disguise. Just like a seed buried in the soil, there's no visible progress at first, but deep underground, roots are forming, foundations are strengthening, and life is taking shape. The darkness of waiting is often where your real strength is born. During those times, the world may not see your effort, but that doesn't mean effort is missing. The woman who waited learned to use her time wisely. Instead of rushing to make something happen, she focused on becoming someone ready. she developed her discipline, sharpened her mind, healed her heart, and reconnected with her purpose. The waiting gave her the space to build internal stability so that when her opportunity arrived, she didn't crumble under its weight. It's important to understand that waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what you can while trusting what you can't. You prepare, you grow, and you nurture your faith that the right time will come. Every day spent waiting is a day spent building your inner world. The world outside might not acknowledge it, but life rewards patience more than haste. Many people fail, not because they lacked talent, but because they moved before they were ready. Waiting ensures you don't destroy with immaturity what you're meant to carry with maturity. Just as seasons change only when nature is ready, your breakthrough arrives when your soul is strong enough to hold it. The woman who learned this truth didn't waste her waiting complaining about time. She used her time to evolve. Sometimes the hardest lesson in life is to understand that delay does not mean denial. What feels like being held back is often divine timing at work. Life has a way of preparing you quietly before presenting you publicly. Waiting is the process that shapes your patience, tests your persistence, and molds your perspective. It gives you emotional endurance and spiritual wisdom that instant results can never offer. So when you find yourself in a waiting season, remember, you're not falling behind, you're being aligned. Every minute is teaching you, refining you, and preparing you. The woman who turned her waiting into winning didn't find her power after she reached her goal. She found it in every moment. She refused to give up while waiting. That's when she realized waiting was never a waste. It was her greatest investment. Transformation happens in silence. That's a truth most of us overlook because silence feels uncomfortable. We associate it with loneliness, with being unseen, unheard, and forgotten. But in reality, silence is sacred. It is the womb of transformation, the quiet place where you shed who you were and become who you are meant to be. The woman who turned her waiting into winning understood this. She didn't fear silence anymore. She befriended it. She learned that while noise can make you known, silence makes you strong. There comes a point in every person's journey when the applause fades, when the people you depended on walk away, and when the doors you were once sure of suddenly close. In that stillness, there's a space that feels like emptiness. But it's actually an invitation to meet yourself. In the silence, you hear the voice of your own heart, the whisper of your soul, and sometimes even the quiet guidance of destiny. This is where true transformation begins. When the woman found herself surrounded by silence, she could have filled it with distractions, noise, or bitterness. Instead, she chose to listen. She realized that silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of truth. It is the teacher that reveals what the noise had hidden. In the stillness, she saw her weaknesses without judgment, her fears without shame, and her dreams without limitation. In the Silence stripped her of all the masks she had worn to please others and showed her who she really was, raw, real, and ready to grow. Transformation never happens in the crowd. It happens in the quiet corners of life. It's in the nights when no one sees your tears, in the mornings when you motivate yourself to try again, and in the days when you choose peace over pressure. The silence becomes a mirror, reflecting both the pain that shaped you and the power that sustains you. The woman used that mirror to redefine herself. She stopped chasing validation and started building value. She stopped rushing for recognition and started focusing on realization, realizing her worth, her strength, and her purpose. People often think success is built in loud moments of victory, but it's actually built in the unseen moments of discipline and solitude. The butterfly doesn't announce its transformation, it simply emerges. The woman's waiting season was her cocoon, a quiet place where she grew wings. Every moment she spent in silence added strength to her spirit. Every tear became a teacher. Every pause became a preparation. Silence also teaches detachment. When the woman learned to be still, she no longer depended on external approval. She became comfortable with her own company. In that peace, she found clarity. Clarity about what truly mattered, what no longer served her, and what she was meant to pursue. She learned that when the world goes quiet, that's when you finally hear what your soul has been trying to say all along. So, transformation in silence isn't about being isolated. It's about being illuminated. It's the process of letting the noise die so that truth can rise. The woman who turned her waiting into winning didn't find her strength in the crowd's praise. She found it in the quiet conversations she had with herself. In that silence, she was not lost. She was being rebuilt, piece by piece, thought by thought, moment by moment, into the woman she was always meant to be. Patience builds character. It sounds simple, almost cliché, yet it is one of the hardest truths to live by. In a world that moves faster every day, patience feels like a weakness. Everyone wants instant results, instant success, instant validation, instant peace. But the woman who turned her waiting into winning discovered something powerful. Patience is not the art of waiting for things to change. It's the discipline of growing stronger while they don't. When everything around her seemed delayed, she learned to stop fighting time and started flowing with it. There were days when she questioned herself, wondering if her dreams were even real or if life had forgotten her. But instead of rushing through her pain, she sat with it. Instead of forcing outcomes, she learned to build herself in the. Patience taught her that character isn't developed in moments of comfort, but in seasons of endurance. Patience refines us in ways that success never can. It softens pride, strengthens humility, and builds emotional balance. The woman realized that every time she was forced to wait, she was actually being trained to handle disappointment, to remain steady in uncertainty, and to trust a process she could not yet see. Life wasn't trying to punish her, it was trying to prepare her. It's easy to stay positive when things go according to plan, but true strength shows when nothing goes as expected and you still keep going. That's what patience does. It builds a deeper version of you. The woman discovered that character is built not by what you achieve quickly, but by what you remain faithful to even when it takes time. The waiting seasons were not empty. They were classrooms where life taught her endurance, gratitude, and faith. She learned that impatience can destroy what patience is designed to deliver. Many people rush into opportunities before they're ready and lose what they worked for because they never developed the character to sustain it. But patience gives you roots before wings. It anchors you so that when blessings come, you don't crumble under their weight. The woman's calm spirit, her inner strength, and her quiet confidence were all products of her patience. Every delay she faced became an invitation to grow deeper rather than give up. She began to see waiting as a chance to polish her spirit, not punish her hope. While others complained about time, she used time as a tool to learn, to heal, to improve, to evolve. She discovered that patience doesn't make life easier, but it makes you stronger. Character is not built through comfort. It's built through challenge. The woman's journey taught her that patience doesn't mean passivity. It means persistence with grace. It means choosing not to react in frustration, but to respond in faith. It means trusting that what is meant for you will never miss you, even if it takes longer to arrive. Through patience, she gained emotional maturity. She stopped chasing temporary feelings and started cultivating permanent peace. She realized that the person she became during the wait mattered more than the goal she was waiting for. Her patience shaped her integrity, her resilience, and her wisdom. And when her moment finally came, she wasn't just ready, she was refined. The woman who once waited had become someone worth waiting for. Her character, built through patience, became the foundation of her success. She learned that the waiting room is not where dreams die, it's where champions are developed. Purpose matures in stillness. This is something few truly understand, because the world often confuses movement with progress. We are taught to keep going, to keep doing, to keep achieving, as if stillness means stagnation. But for the woman who turned her waiting into winning, stillness became the soil where her true purpose began to take root. She realized that purpose doesn't reveal itself in chaos. It unfolds in calm. It doesn't grow through noise. It blossoms through silence. When life slowed her down, she first felt frustration. She thought being still meant being stuck. But over time, she began to see that stillness was not a pause. It was a preparation. When you are always moving you don't hear the whispers of your own heart. You're too distracted by the rush of the world. Stillness, however, gives you the space to listen to your values, your vision, and the gentle nudges that guide you toward what truly matters. The woman learned that sometimes Purpose is not discovered in the doing, but in the being. When she stopped trying to control every outcome, she began to see patterns that were once invisible. She started to recognize how her pain connected to her calling, how her delays were shaping her direction, and how her stillness was not a setback, but a sacred setup. Stillness became her place of revelation, a space where clarity replaced confusion and peace replaced pressure. In stillness, she found perspective. She realized that chasing opportunities without understanding her purpose only led to exhaustion. But aligning her actions with her deeper why led to fulfillment. Purpose matures in those moments when you are not performing for the world, but reflecting for yourself. It is during these quiet seasons that your motives are purified, your intentions are refined, and your dreams begin to align with something greater than ego, something divine. Stillness also teaches surrender. The woman stopped forcing life to happen and started allowing it to unfold. That surrender didn't make her weak, it made her wise. She discovered that true power comes from alignment, not aggression. When she rested in stillness, she began to trust timing more than tactics. She stopped chasing what wasn't meant for her and started preparing for what was destined for her. Every great purpose needs a season of pause, a time when you are hidden, growing quietly. Just as fruit takes time to ripen, so does purpose. If it comes too soon, it's not ready. If it's delayed, it's developing depth. Stillness gives purpose its strength. Patience gives it shape, and faith gives it wings. The woman learned that what looks like inactivity to the world is often deep preparation within the soul. During her season of stillness, she began to dream differently. Her goals became less about proving herself and more about serving others. Her ambition became anchored in meaning, not in comparison. She learned that purpose is not about being busy, it's about being intentional. You can be active and aimless, or you can be still and directed. And she chose direction. As she embraced stillness, she also embraced growth. The lessons that once came from failure now came from reflection. The answers she once sought outside were now unfolding within. She realized that when you stop chasing what's next, you start noticing what's now, and that's where purpose lives. The woman who turned her waiting into winning didn't find her purpose while running toward the world. She found it while sitting quietly with herself. Her stillness became her strength. Her pause became her power. And her waiting became the sacred space where her purpose finally matured into something unshakable. Faith is tested in the waiting room. It's easy to believe when everything is falling into place, when prayers are answered quickly, and when life seems to move in your favor. But true faith is not measured by how strongly you believe when things go right. It's measured by how firmly you hold on when everything feels wrong. The woman who turned her waiting into winning discovered that faith doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in uncertainty. It is not proven when life is predictable. It's proven when everything feels painfully unclear. When she found herself in the long corridors of waiting, where time seemed to stretch endlessly and answers were nowhere to be found, she began to wrestle with doubt. She asked questions that echoed in the silence. Why is this taking so long? Has God forgotten me? Will my time ever come? Yet somewhere deep inside, she chose to keep believing. Even when her emotions wavered, her spirit whispered, "Keep the faith." That whisper became her anchor. Faith is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about trusting that even when it isn't, something divine is still at work. The woman realized that her faith wasn't meant to control outcomes. It was meant to sustain her through them. The waiting room became her training ground, shaping her into a woman who trusted the process even when she couldn't trace the plan. Every unanswered prayer, every delayed dream, and every moment of silence became a test of endurance, humility, and surrender. She discovered that faith is less about seeing and more about staying. Staying patient when you want to quit. I flew for 22 hours to staying hopeful when you feel hopeless and staying committed when the path ahead is unclear. Her faith didn't remove her struggles, but it redefined them. What once felt like punishment began to feel like preparation. She began to see that the waiting season was not God's way of withholding blessings, but His way of building her for them. Every day in that waiting room, she was learning something. She was learning to let go of control, to replace anxiety with assurance, and to shift her focus from what she wanted to what she needed to become. Faith taught her that sometimes unanswered prayers are not denials. They are delays designed for her protection. Had she received what she wanted too early, she might have lost it. But by waiting, she grew into the person capable of handling the weight of her own blessings. Faith also taught her surrender. She stopped demanding timelines and started trusting timing. She stopped rushing to the finish line and began embracing the journey. Her faith evolved from a shallow belief that everything would be easy to a deep conviction that everything would be worth it. Through every silent day, she learned that even when she couldn't see progress, something sacred was being written into her story. And when doubt crept in, she remembered, even a small seed of faith can move mountains, not by moving them instantly, but by giving you the strength to climb them. Every delay became an act of divine timing. Every silence a signal to listen closer, and every disappointment a lesson in patience. By the time her waiting ended, she wasn't the same woman who had started the journey. Her faith had matured from fragile hope to fearless trust. She no longer believed only in outcomes. She believed in growth, in purpose, and in the unseen hands that had been guiding her all along. In the waiting room, her faith was not broken, it was built. Waiting refines your readiness. There's a kind of wisdom that only time can teach. And there's a kind of strength that only patience can build. The woman who turned her waiting into winning learned that waiting is not simply about standing still. It's about being shaped. Every season of delay, every unanswered prayer, every moment of uncertainty was doing something powerful inside her. Life was not holding her back. It was preparing her to move forward with stability, maturity, and clarity. We often think we are ready just because we are willing. But readiness is deeper than desire. You can want something with all your heart and still not be ready to handle it. The woman realized that readiness is about becoming the kind of person who can carry what she's asking for. She had to learn that success without preparation can turn into stress, and blessings without wisdom can quickly become burdens. The waiting season was not a punishment. It was a process, one that refined her vision, her discipline, and her heart. At first, she hated the pause. She felt invisible, forgotten, stuck between dreams and reality. But as time passed, she noticed something changing in her. She began to grow stronger, wiser, calmer. She started to understand that life's delays often protect us from premature arrivals. If you get what you want before you're ready, it might destroy you. The woman saw that her waiting season was equipping her with the tools she'd need later. The strength to persevere, the humility to stay grounded, and the emotional balance to handle success with grace. In the waiting taught her how to manage her emotions when things didn't go her way. It trained her to stay focused on her purpose, not her impatience. Each day of delay was like a mirror, showing her where she needed to grow. It revealed her fears, her doubts, and her insecurities. I flew for giving her the opportunity to transform them into confidence and faith. Readiness isn't built overnight. It's built through the quiet repetition of patience and persistence. She discovered that readiness is not about perfection. It's about preparation. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to be evolving. The woman stopped seeing waiting as a gap in her life and began to see it as a gift. It was her season to prepare, to strengthen her spirit, and to polish her purpose. By the time her opportunity finally arrived, she wasn't scrambling to rise to the occasion. She was already standing tall. Life has a way of testing your readiness through time. If you can stay faithful when nothing seems to be happening that's proof you're developing resilience. If you can keep working when no one is watching, that's proof you're maturing. The woman learned that every delay carries a divine lesson, every pause has a hidden purpose, and every not yet from life means I'm still shaping you. In her stillness, she found strategy. In her waiting, she found wisdom. She began to see that readiness isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about becoming the perfect vessel for the moment when it arrives. Her patience became her polish. Every hardship refined her, every disappointment defined her, and every lesson strengthened her. When her moment finally came, she was not just ready to receive it, she was ready to honor it. Her preparation met her opportunity, and that's when her waiting turned into winning. She realized that readiness isn't something you wait for, It's something you build. And her waiting season had built her into exactly who she was meant to be. Shift your question. That's what changed everything for the woman who turned her waiting into winning. For a long time, her thoughts echoed the same painful question. Why me? Why did she have to go through so many delays? Why did life seem easier for others? Why did her plans keep falling apart? But over time, she began to realize that why me is a question that keeps you trapped in self-pity, while what can I learn from this is a question that pulls you into purpose. The power of perspective changed her entire journey. In the beginning, she fought her circumstances. Every delay felt like an attack, every disappointment like a punishment. She believed something was wrong with her, or that she was being overlooked. But when she shifted her question, she began to see her situation differently. What if this waiting wasn't a curse, but a classroom? What if the things she was facing were not meant to break her, but to build her? That single shift, from complaint to curiosity, turned her pain into purpose and her frustration into focus. When she started asking, "What can I learn from this?" her vision widened. She noticed lessons in moments she once dismissed. Every rejection taught her resilience. Every closed door reminded her to find strength within. Every silence became an invitation to listen deeper. Instead of being bitter, she became better. She began to see that every challenge carries a message. And it's only when you change your question that you start to hear it. This shift didn't happen overnight. It required humility. It required letting go of control and trusting that life had meaning even in its mess. The woman learned that pain without reflection only repeats itself. But pain with reflection transforms into wisdom. By asking better questions, she became more patient, more grateful, and more grounded. She understood that asking why focuses on problems, while asking what now focuses on possibilities. She realized that growth begins when you stop blaming life for what happens to you and start learning from what happens for you. The moment she stopped seeing herself as a victim, she stepped into her power. Waiting was no longer wasted. It became work. Internal work that shaped her mindset and matured her spirit. When she faced obstacles, instead of feeling defeated, she began to ask, "What strength is this moment trying to teach me?" That shift made her unstoppable. The woman discovered that life often repeats its lessons until we learn them. When she faced similar challenges again, she no longer reacted the same way. She responded with grace, patience, and wisdom. That's when she knew her waiting was no longer a period of frustration. It was a season of refinement. Her attitude changed, and as it did, so did her energy. The same challenges that once drained her began to empower her. Through this inner transformation, she learned that perspective is everything. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you interpret it. Every storm either drowns you or strengthens you. It depends on what question you ask while you're in it. The woman's power didn't come from having all the answers. It came from asking better questions. And so, the moment she replaced, "Why is this happening to me?" with "What is this teaching me?" everything shifted. The delays still came, but now they carried wisdom. The silence still lingered, but now it brought peace. The waiting didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like purpose. That single shift in mindset transformed her pain into preparation, her confusion into clarity, and her waiting into winning. Your pace is your purpose. That's the lesson the woman who turned her waiting into winning learned after years of comparing her journey to everyone else's. In a world that celebrates speed and glorifies instant success, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. She saw people achieving things faster, building careers, relationships, and reputations, while she was still in the slow lane of life. At first, she let comparison poison her peace. But over time, she discovered that life isn't a race, it's a rhythm. And when you try to match someone else's rhythm, you lose the beauty of your own. She realized that each person walks a unique path with its own timing and lessons. Some flowers bloom in spring, others in autumn, but every flower still blooms. The woman began to understand that there was no delay in her story. There was divine order. What looked like slowness was actually precision. Life wasn't making her wait because she was unworthy. It was asking her to grow roots deep enough to hold the weight of her destiny. When she stopped comparing her pace to others, she found peace. She learned that rushing often leads to regret, while patience produces purpose. Moving too fast can make you miss what's meant to mold you. Every slow step was shaping her character, developing her wisdom, and teaching her gratitude. She no longer needed to prove her worth through speed. Instead, she began to measure her growth by how much she was evolving inside. Comparison, she realized, is the thief of both joy and timing. When you keep looking at someone else's progress, you stop appreciating your own process. The woman learned to celebrate others without questioning herself. Their success didn't mean her failure. Their timing didn't define her destiny. She reminded herself that even though she might be behind in one chapter, she could still be ahead in another. Life is not about being first, it's about being faithful. Her new mindset gave her freedom. She stopped chasing timelines set by society and started walking in the tempo set by her own soul. She recognized that slow progress is still progress and delays are not denials. The more she embraced her own pace, the more joy she found in the journey. She discovered that life isn't about getting there fast. It's about getting there fulfilled. The waiting season was teaching her to enjoy the process, to trust the timing, and to value preparation as much as arrival. Sometimes she still felt impatient. There were moments when she questioned if her dreams were slipping away. But then she reminded herself, every story unfolds in its own time. The sun doesn't rise faster just because we're tired of the dark. It rises when it's time. And when it does, the light feels worth the wait. That truth became her peace. She also noticed that walking in her own pace brought her clarity. Moving slower helped her make better decisions. It gave her space to breathe, to reflect, and to realign. While others rushed into opportunities and burned out, she grew steadily, quietly, and intentionally. Her progress wasn't loud, but it was lasting. The woman who once compared herself to everyone else now walked with quiet confidence. She didn't need to compete anymore. She needed only to continue. Her timing was not late. It was right on schedule. Every step, every delay, every detour was part of a perfectly paced design. And as she learned to move in harmony with that divine rhythm, her waiting turned into winning, not because she moved fast, but because she moved faithfully at the pace meant for her purpose.